Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of STSL Off the Track. And if you're wondering why the screen is black, well, because I threw out the old graphic, and we have a brand new graphic debuting, especially for Nofagen every time he's hosting. So I'm going to start off with his, because it is quite literally peak. So if anyone is familiar with the game Monster Jam Maximum Destruction, and of course, remembers the very iconic main menu screen, apart from Urban Assault 2007, which the video graphics in the back. Those were pretty cool. Don't lie. I can't lie. That was pretty much the inspiration for the first couple seasons of this pod's background. I did, however, come up with a new one that was inspired by the old game. And like I said, this will be Nofagen's graphics every time he takes over the reins. So without further ado, presenting the new graphics in 3, 2, 1. There it is. Brand new graphics. Of course, Of course, the guest I have tonight is Nofagen and Jack. Guys, what do you think on this brand new graphic?
Absolute cinema. This is peak.
Fantastic. It's perfect.
Brings back memories. That's for sure.
I know. Jack couldn't say anything. He was not even alive then. But anyway, it is a brand new week. We're now past week 23 of the Monster Truck season. We've had quite a lot of things that happened this past weekend, especially a sold-out stadium show for a promotion that everyone was talking crap about for like the last 6 years. But anyway, without further ado, we're going to start off Sports World with Nofagen.
All right, there's definitely a lot going on in the sports world as of late. It is the championship time for two major sports leagues, that being the NHL and the NBA. Starting off with the National Hockey League, the Stanley Cup Finals has been underway for quite a bit between the Vegas Gold Knights and the Carolina Hurricanes. And right now, Vegas leads the series 2-1. It is a best of 4 series, so win 4 games out of 7, you will get the championship. And right now, tomorrow, June 9th, as we were recording as of June 8th, tomorrow's going to be game 4. So Carolina's going to have to win this game to even out the series. Otherwise, Vegas will be 1 game closer with this win tomorrow to clinch up the Stanley Cup Championship. Now, as for the NBA Finals, the Game 3 is currently going on right now, and we actually have 4 minutes left of Game 3. The New York Knicks were leading San Antonio Spurs in the series 2-0, but they might be looking at their first loss as it's currently 108-101. Definitely will be looking for some more updates. Probably will interrupt the program later on in the show with an update. But right now, the Spurs are looking at their first win. That is if they don't choke. Update you more on that later on in the show. But there's definitely been a lot of talk about NFL free agency and trades going on. Let's just go over a few highlights here, and I'll bring in Lane and Jackinator a bit after I read off a few of the big highlights of the offseason. First of all, the New York Giants signed a new wide receiver, that being Odell Beckham Jr. That is right, he is finally going back to his home team where he started back in 2014 with the iconic one-handed catch. Great to see OBJ back in his home roots. Former Cleveland Browns defensive end Myles Garrett is now being traded to the Los Angeles Rams as the Browns franchise is in shambles, basically like they've always has been. Anyways, the Giants also picked up another star wide receiver, that being Juju Smith-Schuster, formerly with the Kansas City Chiefs. He is now joining OBJ with the Giants. And another wide receiver going to a new team, former Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown, also former Titans wide receiver. He is joining Mike Vrabel again, as he is going to the New England Patriots for this 2026 season. A few more notable trades have happened as of late, but just those are more of the more recognizable ones. So I'll bring in Lake and Jackinator on this. What are your reactions to some of these trades and new signings in the NFL?
I guess I can start. The Odell Beckham one definitely caught me off guard. I did not think he was actually going to go back to the Giants. I didn't even hear rumors of that happening. Uh, I don't know if that's going to help the Giants become a successful team. Um, other than the other other than the other teams, I haven't paid much attention to the free agency. Uh, Odell Beckham is literally the only one I've heard about. Jack, if you watch any football,
I don't happen to.
You should. It's very fun.
it is big,
We'll
bro.
think about it.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't. You're from Arizona, right?
Yeah.
All right, don't go for the. Don't listen to Max and don't go for the Cardinals. Go for the Broncos. Bo Leave and Bo Nix.
You should
Got it.
definitely be a Tennessee Titans fan. Cam
That's
Ward is the
misery, right?
future.
That's just misery. Being a Titans fan.
The rebranding is garbage. Don't
Also, talk
don't
about
be part of
NFL
that.
actually. While we're on the topic of NFL stadiums, the new Buffalo Bills stadium is almost in the process of being complete, as it will be debuting this upcoming season. As we're also 1 year away from the new Nissan Stadium being finished or debuting in the next season. Just quickly talk about stadiums. Talk about stadiums, however, since we're on the talk about sports right now, we can't forget another thing. That is also the FIFA World Cup, literally about to start this upcoming Thursday. The first
Yeah,
game being Mexico versus South. Hello.
we love
Uh,
soccer.
the first game being Mexico versus South Africa, being the first game to kick off the World Cup, which is Group A. Of course, South Korea's game is later on the same nights. Um, Talk about the stadiums. FIFA did, of course, have to rename the majority of the North American stadiums that they're going to be renting out. The Mexico ones, all of the United States ones, and the Canada ones. So, for example, SoFi Stadium will not be named SoFi Stadium when it's referenced as a location. It's going to be called Los Angeles Stadium. Kansas City is going to be known as Kansas City Stadium. Levi Stadium will be known as San Francisco Bay Area Stadium. I'm not going to go through all of them, but one to mention also is Arlington's AT&T Stadium going to be known as Dallas Stadium.
What
But
is East Rutherford going to be called? Is it New York Stadium or New
I
Jersey
think that was
Stadium?
I think that one's actually going to be called New Jersey Stadium since it resides on New Jersey
Good.
location. Yeah,
Glad they're doing that.
a lot of people did notice that, and it's going to be called New Jersey Stadium.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, even the Mexico ones are going to be known by city wise. So like Monterrey Stadium. I think one of them is Guadalajara Stadium. I don't remember where the exact locations were, but yeah, they're going to be named by cities and not by the actual uh, license name. As because they're not partnered with FIFA themselves, so they had to change it. They didn't have to take the signs down, just wipe them out and rename them as like X City Stadium. But FIFA World Cup is finally here, guys. That's if you watch soccer. I mean, I don't like to watch soccer. I do like to play it, but if you do guys watch soccer, which team y'all rooting for?
I got to go with the United States just because I'm a homer. I love watching soccer, especially when it comes to the major championships like the World Cup, just because it happens once every 4 years. It's pretty big, right up there with the Olympics for sure.
Yeah, I don't personally watch it, but I mean, I think internationally, like you said, other than the Olympics, this is the biggest deal in sports. So it's pretty cool to have it here.
Yeah, pretty big deal to have it in North America, especially in our lifetime, which won't get to happen a lot, but we probably will get it again sometime soon, in the next couple of years. But other than that, FIFA World Cup is about to begin this Thursday. Group A will kick it off. I don't know how the whole entire tournament works, but I think I really don't know. Just watch the games, I guess. But anyway, I think is there anything else in sports we got to talk about?
Well, I know you'll definitely want to talk a bit about some WWE because some big events have happened previously, most notably the Clash in Italy. So, if you wouldn't mind just taking us through a bit of what happened there.
I didn't get to watch Clash in Italy. I did hear a few things where
Bro.
I know. I was at Fan Expo that day actually. Um, I did see Brock Lesnar defeated Obafemi, where he said 1 plus 1 equals you're done. Something like that. He
Oh,
said.
well.
I'm not even kidding. He actually said that out loud. Where apparently now this will set up in a best of three. Uh, Roman Reigns did defeat Jacob Fatu in the Tribal Rules match, where of course Roman Reigns came out victorious once again. Um, I hear clapping in the back. I think Knicks are starting to take over the lead. Um, I can't really remember the rest. I didn't get to see anything out of Clash in Italy. I really didn't get to see Clash in Italy. It did happen during the day over here. I was just busy and I didn't get to watch. I didn't get much highlights either out of it. Um, I did. Oh, actually, however, we're still talking wrestling. Triple A, while it is WWE adjacent, had the biggest night on the night before Clash in Italy, where of course the main event was El Grande Americano versus El Grande Americano. Yes, you heard that, two of them, Sin Cara versus Sin Cara, but better. Uh, of course, the stipulation was the loser of the match has to remove their mask and reveal their identity. So, of course, El Grande Americano defeated El Grande Americano, and turns out the losing El Grande was Chad Gable, who came back after a year from injury. Um, and he did it in that promo. I did watch this actually. So in that promo, he did say, he came up with that gimmick because he wanted to beat the other luchadors where he had a hard time as himself. On Raw, defeating Penta, Ray Phoenix, all the other luchadors on that brand. He went over to Triple A to do what he wanted to do and become the best luchador. Where unfortunately he got injured last year as Chad Gable, and they gave the gimmick to the other white boy, Ludwig Kaiser. Um, where at the end Chad Gable revealed he was he was the original El Grande Americano, where now Ludwig Kaiser, my favorite El Grande by the way, he's so cool. Um, we'll get to keep the gimmick, and Chad told him that he wishes his best in his career in AAA and WWE anywhere else. Chad Gable also today's Monday. Early on Raw today, he came out to save Rey Mysterio from after being unmasked by Rusev, as he did keep a promise that he will keep his faith to lucha libre, Mexican style wrestling. But other than that, I don't know anything else. Also, while we're talking about wrestling, how do you explain this to me? How did I get to meet the Hardys last night?
What?
Explain. Okay, explain. Like TNA came over to Denver this last weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, I get to meet champion Mike Santana, Elena Black, aka FK, Corey Jade, Indy Hartwell, and then just yesterday on Sunday, I got to meet Nick Nemeth, aka FK Dolph Ziggler from WWE, who's now in TNA, and of course the Hardys. In what timeline? In under a year,
That's
I get to
crazy.
meet Dennis Anderson, the icon of monster trucks, and then the Hardys, the absolute icons of the '90s and 2000s in pro wrestling. Like, explain that to me. How does it was $140 and like 3 hours waiting in line for that, but it was still so worth it. Like, how do I get to do that? Like, it was so cool. Like, I'm still processing in that. I'm gonna change my profile picture on Facebook, and that's gonna be with the Hardys. Like, how do you beat that? Like, I'm sorry, I just had to mention that while we're talking wrestling. But other than that, in WWE stuff and everything else, I have no clue what's going on really, because even they themselves don't have any idea. It's just been it's just been scrambled all around. But it's just been an interesting week. El Grande lose to El Grande. Of course, the tribal chief is still the tribal chief, and I get to meet the Hardys. Man, how do you? How do you top that?
Epic.
Any,
Woo!
anything else in sports we gotta get over through?
I don't think so, no, but the Knicks and Spurs game is currently wrapping up, so once the scores finalize, I'll let you guys know. But other than that, let's get into the truck
Well,
jams.
I'm sorry. Before we get off, win or lose, Knicks win or lose, New York's like literally about to become Gotham City in like less than a game or two.
Oh, gee.
Literally, I love the
It's
fans so
going
much.
to.
They're so fun.
Yeah.
I want to be New York so bad. Sometimes they're so fun.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, it looks like the Spurs are going to win. It's 115 to 111 with 6 seconds left. So it might be going to maybe Knicks in five. Definitely won't be Knicks in four, that's for sure.
Full sweep would have been crazy.
It would have been, but watch this turn into every away team wins. That'd be wild.
Well, anyway, we're about to start on with the trucks,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, let's go into the truck
Yep.
All right.
jams.
And I almost forgot to set up the screen capture here because I'm clumsy. Anyway, the shows we had this past weekend. There we go. Starting off with the Monster Truck Nitro Tour in Alexandria, Minnesota. Starting off with Monster Patrol Brandy Schmidt, Redneck Rampage Carson Schmidt, Wild Thang Rod Schmidt, and Wicked Sickness with Mark Andrew. Monster Truck Roundup in Edinburgh, Pennsylvania with Backdraft Justin Perkins. Bad News Travels Fast Brandon Duro. Be Aware with Jessica Miller. Metal Monster Shane Grunseth, Muddy Girl Camouflage, and Brood. And Shockwave with Bill Brockman Jr. Also, when we're talking about the Broods, did you guys see Paul Brood's video a couple weeks ago after 1 year, after 2 years after the accident?
Yes, I
I
did.
don't
I believe
believe
that was with
so.
a Samson Empty fan, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a very interesting interview. Like seeing what Paul had to go through to like rehabilitate after that accident.
I
Yeah,
don't believe I ended up seeing that.
it is a. I believe I say it was a great interview. It was very touching too. Because we were wondering how Paul was doing, and I'm glad someone took the time. I'm glad he actually took the time to talk about that, clear about that, and exactly what happened on that March 2024 event. Um, or was I think it was January? I don't even remember. Um, he did talk about that. It was very touching. And yeah, like Knopf said, it was about going through his recovery, how he's doing now versus back then. He did go through a little bit about the team lore when he bought the truck Instigator from Lionel Easler. Um, yeah, he gave a whole team lore. He gave up lore about what happened from the accident, how he's doing now. Very touching video. I do recommend checking it out if you guys haven't. Next up is Poplar Bluff, Missouri Monster Trucks Maniac with Crazy Heifer, Cody Dickies. Fire Hazard, Chris Davis, Johnny Davenport doing double duty for Ghost Rider and Girl Power, and of course King Crunch with Dylan Finley. Oshawa, Ontario with Monster Trucks All Out, Bucking Bronco, Kevin Lupson, Out Fox, Mike Worsley, Robo Shark, Sharon Lupson, and T-Rex, Mike Worsley. Ukiah, California for the Ukiah Speedway for like a fairground show, Redwood Fair. Enforcer with Brandon Galley playing for Keeps Tony Canito. Survivor Ryan Frazier. T-Max with David Tucker. And of course Wicked Strong with Jacob Galley. St. Catharines, Ontario for Monster Madness with Helion Richard Bernier, Psychopath Pat Paquette, Rat Nasty, as you've seen on the new background. I did include that especially for Barth. I hope he noticed it. Ryan Como, Sabotage with Crystal Carey, and Trainwreck with Matt Briand. Full Throttle Monster Trucks in Campbellsville, that's the name, Campbellsville, Kentucky. American Scout, Colton Kaiser, County Mountie, Roger Gager, Metal Monster, Shane Grunseth, Plain Hooky with JRC Sock and Stomper, Don Vanskiok. Cottage Grove, Oregon, for the Malicious Monster Truck Tour. Excuse me. Elbows Up, Joe Briggs, Identity Theft, Miles Parker, Mixed Up, Gavin Sell, Rockstar, Bill Payne, and Spitfire, Nick Jones. Frederick, Maryland, for the Renegade Monster Trucks with blockheaded Jared Smith, Dirt Crew Tim Azentis, aka Mullet, Hurricane Force Steve Thompson, Shredder, Zane Ritu. Oh, look at that. He hasn't driven in quite a while. Toxic Corey Snyder, and War Wizard RJ Turner. Walton, Kentucky also had the full throttle monster trucks with County Monty, Roger Gager, Monkey Business, Thomas Borders, Outlaw, Alan Pizzo back behind the wheel, Psycho Circus, Mason Rife, Red Bestos, Jasmine Borders, and Stomper, Don Vanskiok. 2X Monster Trucks Live were in two places this last weekend with a different bit of a lineup shakeup. As in Dodge City, Kansas, they had a special guest for their show with Jekyll and Hyde, Corey Kinel, Ron Rex with Kevin Menton and Corey Kinel, with Shark by Dan, the man, Dahlgren.
Yeah.
And of course, that special guest they had there was the beautiful Nightlife driven by Aaron Basil. Still a truck I would love to see. Swedesboro, New Jersey, also had two special guests for their show. Of course, the lineup was being led by Bounty Hunter, not Jimmy Crane. This time was Jeremiah Paris, Scarlet Bandit, Don Crean, and of course, the two guests here were Shaker Racing's very own, or the Metal Shop Racing Team's very own Shaker, was Ryan Disharoon, and Aramel, Jordan Fisher. Cedar City, Utah, the hometown for the Team Throttle Monster team, hosting a show in their hometown with Jurassic Attack, Tim Hall Jr., Kamikaze, Bam Christensen, and Travis Hall. Shell Shocked, Dalton Widener, and Vendetta with Fat Mike Christensen. St. Felicien, Quebec with Monster Spectacular, Black Stallion, Mike Waters. Higher Education, Chris DeHoyos, Joe Fly, Jordan Healy. Overkill Evolution, Mike Waters Jr., Superfoot, Easton Nuttall, and Extreme Jim with Jim Pigeon. Which funny enough, this should be a Jim Color thing. All-Star Monster Truck Tour in Unity, Maine. Crush Station, Greg Wickenbach. Excavator, Gage Bursey. The one time Max is not here, he would have just yelled out Gage Bursey. Kraken, Nick Pagarillo, Lumberjack, Zach Wickenbach, Misfire, Brooke Plagarillo, and Towasaurus Rex. I believe this is the first time I ever got to announce that name on the show here. Towasaurus Rex. Tyler Merkamp. I believe this is either first or second time, but first time this year so far. Then next up, we're actually going to save the last three independent shows for last. As we're going to go straight on to Austin, Texas for Monster Jam. If anyone remember that they had a show this last weekend before World Finals. Of course, we're only a few weeks away from the Monster Jam World Finals in Salt Lake City, the 4th of July weekend. So, the results here for the Austin Jam and the Moody Center Jam for the June 6th and 7 Jam. Also, the lineup including is Earthshaker Alex Barton, El Toro Loco MJ Solorio, Excalibur with Magic Mike Pagarillo, Gravedigger Matt Cody, Jester running the Halloween Skull Body. The red one, of course, with Matt Pagarillo. Megalodon Angelina Knock, Sparkle Smash Jamie Sullivan, and Velociraptor Carson Williams. So, they only had two shows this last weekend, starting off with JCB Racing. Of course, this was timed racing. Your timed racing winner was Alex Barton Earthshaker with a 10.816. Skills goes to MJ El Toro Loco. Freestyle goes to Matt Cody Gravedigger, and the overall goes to Matt Cody Gravedigger with 20. On to show 2, the last one of the weekend. Your timed racing winner was MJ Solorio El Toro Loco. Skills is El Toro Loco. And look at that, a full sweep for the El Toro Loco team on after getting freestyle and a full perfect 24 points for the overall to end off Austin, Texas this last weekend. Not a whole lot to watch out for other than it was just a normal show. Of course, the ones we get before World Finals, so nothing new out of the ordinary. Other than that, we're going to start off with we're going to start off with one of the shows that everyone was looking forward to. That is the annual MAP Motorsports in Miami, Oklahoma. Of course, the lineup includes Bad Decision, Alec White, Barbarian Devin Jones, Frostbite, Kylie Kent, The Haymaker, Chucky Pocken, Jurassic Attack, Preston Collins, Crazy Train, Triton Robbins. Lineup, exciting. Overboard, Jamie Garner, Plain Crazy, Montana Robbins, Tailgater, Tim Jones, Terminal Velocity, John Zimmer Jr., the brand new Twisted Addiction with a brand new body and design that actually looked pretty cool. What did you guys think?
I love it.
It is incredibly peak. It's really stands out.
With Trip Jones behind the wheel, Uproar with John Zimmer Sr. of Velociraptor, Preston Perez, and Wildside Zach Gardner. That is an incredible lineup.
Absolutely.
That is like absolutely peak. And then of course, don't without forgetting to mention that Barbarian is back after after running Crusheroo this last year or two. Back with Barbarian, only for Devin Jones to decide to have his split painted, and the right side was also known as Road Rage. So, what do you guys think of that split Barbarian paint?
It looked really sick, but it was funny because uh before racing the first show, I hadn't realized that he had a split paint job. And so at various points in the show, I saw the road rage truck and I had no clue what I was looking at or who it was. And it took me about half an hour to figure out that that was still Devin Jones.
Yeah, that was a very interesting decision to have two different identities just split on the same body.
Yeah, it took me a while to realize that. Uh, I like Jack. I also saw the side of Road Rage, and I was like, "Oh, cool, new truck." I did not realize that was the half of Barbarian, which is cool to see. And you don't get to see double identities in one. You get to see drivers do double identities. You don't get to see double identities in one truck, which is cool. But other than that,
Yeah.
Jack, what was the results for Miami, Oklahoma? I know the first show was better than the second. What happened there?
So the first show started off with best trick. Some drivers did better than others, but it went to John Zimmer Jr. Terminal Velocity. The highlighted move there is he did this moonwalk into wheelie, and as he was walking the wheelie, the truck tipped sideways. He got a little bit of a sidewall save. Pretty cool moment. That got the best trick win. Racing went to, of course, Chucky Pocket in the Haymaker. He's got to get his practice in before the last chance qualifier. That was a great way to do so. That truck, as seen in Virginia Beach, in prior events there is very, very fast, and that carried over here to Mima. So interesting to see that consisting, and maybe we'll see that when the World Finals comes around. Freestyle would go to Zach Garner in the wild side. He's the only driver the whole weekend to successfully land a backflip. Tim Jones in the tailgater would also attempt a backflip, but the backflip would use the garbage truck instead of a standard trench box or even a dirt ramp. Which proved to be a little interesting, but Tim Jones would not land it, and Zach Garner got a pretty much perfect landing to end out the show and get him the win. Then show two, about 3 4 hours before the show started, crazy rain came in. Was quite the experience to watch that show. I mean, I don't think a single truck made it to the pits in that event without something wrong. Um, Lots of broken transmissions and unhappy trucks for sure. Best trick went to Devin Jones. Not sure what to refer to his truck as, but he locked in pretty well there. No one was able to do, really two wheel moves. It was kind of just who could get the biggest air in the mud. And the winner for that was Devin Jones. He had a pretty cool send. Racing went to John Zimmer Jr., Terminal Velocity, only one who could take advantage of the mud. And freestyle would also go to Devin Jones. I believe he had a rollover in there, and it was a pretty good run considering the conditions. But yeah, really, the story of Myanmar is, it's the big anniversary. I want to say the 45th anniversary of something. I don't remember exactly what. And so they had the backflip ramp, and it was supposed to be bigger than ever. Unfortunately, the weather messed it up. We did still get to see one successful backflip, which was cool. Of course, like mentioned, that was Zach Garner. And there were a lot of rollovers the first day, which I want to highlight because every driver that rolled over had the opportunity to refire and finish their run, which I thought was pretty neat. We saw that with both of the Jones, notably. And outside of that, the other highlights for me it was seeing Send It and the Robbins brothers on a bigger floor before doing stadiums and Monster Jam coming up. So that's all I have to say here for this show. And then, of course, King of Miami was John Zimmer Jr., Terminal Velocity, his third one ever there. So that's about it. What do you guys have to say about the shows?
It was definitely a tale of two different days in terms of weather. But these drivers they still delivered. I mean, this is one of the most anticipated independent events of the year, and big congrats to Lil Zim becoming this year's King of Miami. Very exciting to see, especially before he makes a run for a World Finals championship in a few weeks.
I didn't get to see anything out of this show. I did only hear a few things. I did see the weather stuff. Um, Rain shows are not always according to plan. Plus, they sometimes do suck. But that first one did look very peak cinema. Of course, Miami is always very famously known for an awesome events. Of course, they run pretty long as well. That lineup, like I said, is very, very awesome. Just the shows themselves couldn't really live up to the expectation throughout the whole entire weekend. Of course, the rain just ruined that. But yeah, Miami looked like Miami looked like a fun time. Talk about rained out shows too. Anderson, Indiana also had a rain out show. That of course was the Monster Truck Throwdown. That of course included American Scout Colton Kaiser, Avenger Joe Foley, Blockhead Darren Basil, John Kohler driving Brutus, David Alford, Dirt Crew, Rat Attack Jacob Ladwig. So a fun event. I mean, a fun lineup for what seems to be a fun event. Of course, the rain also came in and took that out. But Nofagen, we have the results from Anderson.
Yes, that is right. A much anticipated weekend for Monster Truck Throwdown in the great state of Indiana. Fans were treated with a new design for Dirt Crew, specifically for Too Tall David Olfert. Fans also got to see Avenger on Avenger 2, which is absolutely peak cinema. But who won the competitions this weekend? Well, starting off with Friday night, best trick winner was Jacob Ladwig and the Rat Attack. So that was cool to see, starting off the weekend with a win, pulling off some good slap wheelies on that asphalt track. Now, side by side racing, the first winner of the weekend was David Olfert and the Dirt Crew. So love to see that. He defeated American Scout in the finals. And your freestyle winner from night one was also David Olford and the Dirt Crew. So congratulations on him on winning the overall as well that first night. Now moving on to night two, which was a little bit rained out, but still drivers pulling off some good highlights. Like Colton Kaiser and American Scout, who got some nice wheelies to win best trick. Your racing winner from Saturday night was Joe Foley in Avenger 2. Avenger 2 winning racing in the Big 26 was absolute cinema, but not a cinema from your freestyle winner, John Kohler. Call him up, Monster Jam. He is ready for it. He had an awesome save in which he slid on the asphalt track, thought it was done, but momentum got him into a stuck spot that carried him back on all four wheels. Definitely the highlight moment of the weekend. And as of terms of overall winner, doesn't really specify, but big congratulations, especially for John Kohler on that incredible save and that freestyle win. Definitely one of the biggest highlights in his young career.
Yeah, John Kohler was a big conversation the whole weekend. Outside of that save, the day beforehand, he had that crazy crash. He kind of did a cartwheel into barrel roll kind of thing. Didn't land it, but it was quite the highlight reel moment. And also with that new Dirt Crew body, I guess it got into a bit of trouble. I'm not sure how it happened, but I'm pretty sure at some point I saw a picture of it against the wall, like the truck tipped over onto a wall somewhere in the venue, which I thought was interesting considering it was a brand new body. But uh, I don't really know the context behind that. I just believe that I saw that somewhere.
Yeah, Dirt Crew bodies never survived it past the first night or first weekend. I do like that new tune shaded Dirt Crew body. It looks pretty cool. I think it will fit David Alford. John Kohler. And now that you guys are mentioning it, I talk about him. I am actually a little excited to see him next week for the Father's Day show. Of course, he'll be with Chris driving Mayhem. Uh, John looks like he could be an absolute beast in next upcoming years. Of course, Adventure Tube, literally on back with the Adventure body is just so peak. Like literally back to 2008. Um, and with Joe Foley behind it, it's like you're seeing Jim Kohler come back 20 years ago. Um, but I didn't get to see much out of Anderson too, other than the John Kohler save with Brutus, with the weird crab bicycle you could call. But other than that, Anderson looked like it was a neat time. So next up is the best show of the weekend, and unfortunately, that was not Jam or my MAP or Throwdown. That for once is Hot Wheels, their first United
Yeah.
States stadium show in the Albertson Stadium in Boise, Idaho. Of course, the home of the Boise, Idaho State Broncos. Not related to the Denver Broncos, not at all. But this is where Ashton Genty came out from, and of course, he now plays for the Raiders, which could be worse. Um, this was an absolute sold out show. All 30,002 fans came out. Absolute sold out house for the first time ever, for the first ever Hot Wheels Stadium show. Couldn't have been any better for them, actually, stateside. But they have this lineup, however, could have been better, but they did have two epic editions for the show, and one stunt later we have to talk about. So, of course, the lineup includes Five Alarm with Cody Hallman and Joe Cipher. So, of course, they have a two of each. Bigfoot with Rebecca Schnell and Caleb Yanisich. Bone Shaker, Clint Watson and DJ Bolts. Mega Rex, Dylan Bartz, and Frank Kremel. Destroying the Applebee's out there. Rhinomites, Anthony Ritter and Callan Williams. Scalosaurus, Devin Wheeler, and Mike Phelps. Smashing Janty with Craig Christensen. Snake Bites, that is right. Snake Bite is back, celebrating 35 years with Eric Steinberg, aka what was his name?
Victor E. Viper.
There we go. And next up is also Tiger Shrek, Kyle Sizemore, and Mike Mentor. So they combined both the East Coast and West Coast tours together for one and brought out Snake Bites for this one epic show, one night only in Boise, Idaho. Like Jack said earlier, they have nothing else to do. It's Idaho. Um, Other than that, let's talk about the lineups. This is where we all had a bit of a complaint, where it was similar to Tacoma a few years back, where they did that floor as well, where it was two of each. And Hot Wheels definitely has a lot of identities that they still have. They have, of course, Demo Derby, V8 Bomber, Gangster could have been back for a little while. Uh, even they even have Hot Wheels Racer One, uh, which literally have four more identities, but they didn't. They just said, yeah, everyone is having two of each, which of course they're gonna run two trucks and donuts at the same time, same team, and freestyle, of course, at the same time. But racing, however, wasn't that same way. Would have been interesting. But what do you guys think on the lineup? Could have been improved with different identities, or was this as fine as it was?
Well, the lineup, I guess I can understand because you are just simply taking the drivers and the identities that have been running for the regular season, just combining them to one, but also adding some other additions like Snakebite and the Boise State exclusive truck. Now, racing was definitely interesting because for round one of racing, it was just the 14 main trucks, like the team trucks, and in round one, every truck was going up against themselves basically. So like it was Mega Rex versus Mega Rex in round one, and then Five Alarm versus Five Alarm, and so on. And then round two of racing, that is when Snakebite was introduced and basically just went on to win the whole thing. But I guess I can understand like that's an easier way, just combine like both the East and the West Coast tours. But adding Snakebite and the Boise State truck in there was definitely a nice bit of a touch on the event and kind of making it its own, basically.
Yeah, I think it's Hot Wheels doesn't really have any heavy hitter drivers outside of Craig Christensen, who I'm sure we'll get to. So, it's kind of what are you going to do about it? I mean, obviously the fleet itself could have been better, like you mentioned, there's so many identities that I think they could have used, and not only that, I think would have been cooler than some trucks that are already there. Like I would have loved to see Demo Derby or Race Ace make a return, but You can't have everything. For what it's worth, I think it was pretty solid. The lineup could have been worse, could have been better, but it made for a good show. So you got to take it.
Yeah, either way, they had a really, really successful show. Uh, Other than that, like Nofrigen said, Snakebite did win racing, which of course on your night back, how do you win racing? Being as intimidating as you were 35 years ago. Um, what were the other results since they were all the rest of the night was just team-based competition? What happened there?
Yeah, so taking a look at the rest of the results here and talk about Snakebite, which was ran on Eric Steinberg's Bigfoot 19, I think it was. Bigfoot 19 or 21, whatever it is, definitely one of the fastest trucks out there. But winning the donut competition, it was Team Bone Shaker, basically just doing donuts at the same time. And then freestyle, it was Team Rhinomite that won that. So, also just talk about the track for a bit. I love how they mixed basically old school, like brought me back to 2005, while also debuting the backflip ramp as well for Hot Wheels, which I guess was only done at the end of the show, but still a great way to combine both old fans and new fans eras in the same event.
Yeah, the I've seen a lot of people complain about the track, and I, for one, I think it was fitting. Uh, I mean, if you're not new to this, every Hot Wheels track has been the same, and we all thought it was gonna be just the same car stack or like just car stacks across or like the tiny like the across the big floor for no reason like they did at Tacoma, which I still think it should have been done justice. It could have been better than that. Which after that they definitely thought, yeah, it's a big stadium floor, and they used dirt for the first time here, um, and they said we're gonna give him a better track that, like Nafajin said, it brings back to old days. They it does look like it has a tabletop in the center. They've painted almost most of the track, with two end zones on orange and then the middle being blue. Of course, being Hot Wheels colors, of course, it was also fitting. That's Boise State Broncos colors. Of course, they also use a racing car
Yeah,
stacks
racing.
across, and then of course a few jammers and the car pyramids. The track itself is not bad for this show. I think it's fitting. Yeah, they didn't
They
have to
smashed.
go. They didn't have to go
They,
all out. Plus, from what I hear, they don't like to ruin their bodies, which unfortunately one person did roll over. Um, I think it's fine. And what were you gonna say?
they smashed motorhomes.
Hey, and they brought out campers. Let's go.
Yeah, and they did
Yeah,
fireworks too, pyrotechnics.
I think the setup was just fine. It's not a monster jam track by any means, but it was on par with a throwdown show. So I don't really see the issue. I mean, it's not like they're in a football stadium. It's a college stadium. It's not that differently sized than something like Tacoma. So for what it's worth, I think they did a good job with it.
Yeah, they did a lot of things that Monster Jam isn't doing anymore,
Right.
and that stood out in this show. Yeah, this was their world finals, no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we went through the results from this show, right?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Just very awesome all around show, and no way they're not going back to Boise next year.
No, I
They gotta
mean,
go back.
who knows? We'll see. And I did want to talk about a little discourse that one particular fan was talking about, thinking that Monster Jam is all of a sudden jealous that Hot Wheels sold out a show. Buddy, what about you finishing your story at World Finals 2 whole years ago? If you know who I'm talking about, I think you guys do. But like he was making memes about it that Jam was jealous and he was all talking smack that Jam could never and all this. And I'm like, buddy, this was their first state's stadium show. They've done a couple last year internationally, which they went well too. Um, but like Monster Jam has sold out shows this year too. They've sold out Birmingham, El Paso, a few others. Not just these stadiums. They've sold out arenas. Uh, So for that one guy to be talking smack about Jam being all jealous, it's like, buddy, Hot Wheels ain't even their biggest competition. They have no competition really. Like they have drivers that go around to every promotion, like Throwdown, MAP or whatever. Hot Wheels is like the last thing they can worry about because it's just Thunder Nationals. But for this show, I wouldn't even put them on the same level. But it did look like a fun time, and of course, talk about the stunt at the end of the show, which was actually no. Hold on, we gotta talk about Aston Genty taking a parade lap with Sebastian Genty. Just a parade lap, nothing crazy. Which I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think on that too?
It's just a good way to connect the fans back with a historic part of Boise State's football history. I mean, Ashton Genty is probably the most accomplished player in Boise State football history, was a Heisman Trophy finalist, and he has a big career taking off with the Las Vegas Raiders in the NFL. So it was a good idea, I guess, to for this show for Hot Wheels to bring Ashton Genty here, and maybe was another reason why fans decided to come to the show just to see Ashton Genty. I mean, I get it; it's a very popular figure in this university and in the state in general.
Yeah, and of course the stunt at the end, which of course Craig Christensen did, was a backflip to close off the night, and he almost didn't get to complete it, but he did, and he almost over rotates, breaking the body, and got to have it back on all fours, and a completed backflip stunt to end off Hot Wheels' sold out night in Boise, Idaho. What did you guys think on that backflip?
That's why he's the GOAT.
Craig Christensen, the greatest Smashing Genty legend.
Literally, dude said he was retired and then goes on to do a backflip a couple years later.
Crazy. And that's a pretty solid save at the end too. I
It
mean, the truck did
was.
settle onto the wheelie bar, but like that was definitely the highlight of the weekend as a whole, out of
Yeah,
every monster truck show.
And he
yeah.
got to keep going after that for a bit.
Yeah, he did a
Right.
reverse jump over a van stack. That's a solid move.
Gage Bursey.
Yeah.
Or for the old heads out there, of course, that's Michael Waters' old signature move. Um, and Airman Dance, of course, Dan Evans. Other than that, successful Hot Wheels show for the first time ever. Stadium, at least. Arenas, they still do good, even though they're boring and everyone talks crap about them. But who knows what the future holds for Hot Wheels and if they will get any more uh, stadium shows down the line. I think this is the only one they will have this year. I don't know if they will have more in the upcoming years. They have not announced any for uh, 2027. We haven't seen anything for 2028 yet. Of course, we're still only in the beginning of June, so we've still yet to find out. But when it was June last year, that's when they announced this show. So we'll see if they'll be coming back to Boise this next upcoming year, or when they get a chance again, or do another stadium down the line. Of course, not any of the same stadiums that Jam is running. They don't have to, but I would like to see places where, where they haven't even touched yet. But what do you guys think on that?
I'll let you go first, Jaganeer.
Sorry, say that one more time.
So after this show, do you think Hot Wheels could potentially go to more stadium shows down the line? Not this year, but like years later.
I sure hope so. I mean, I think although at this point in time their lineup is, here or there, if they can keep getting, this much attention and getting on these huge floors, I think we could see more and more drivers start to, give more consideration to the tour. And, at that point it would be only uphill from there. I think the only thing that could change, I mean, I think the track was fine. Uh, you know, I like having the all independent fleet. The only thing I would change is kind of the way the show is ran. They still have that whole format with like, the tandem freestyles and all that. I think it would be cool to, if they had a little bit more of a competitive lens on it, it could really become the next huge thing for monster trucks. Because it's already getting a lot closer. This is a huge step up from anything else Hot Wheels does. So, especially with this being such a huge success, and uh, Hot Wheels having such a high reputation, I wouldn't be surprised to a lot more stadiums saying yes to it in the future.
Yeah, and just adding on to that, throwing it back to a video that Monster Talk once did on the history of the Hot Wheels Monster Trucks tour. He pointed out that Hot Wheels is one of Monster Jam's biggest competitors, not in terms of show quality, but in exposure and getting space in big markets. So, like competing with some markets that Monster Jam is in, like Albany, New York, or Tacoma, Washington, if you will. Like venues that Monster Jam has ran in, Hot Wheels is doing shows in there as well. Now, if you're like a stadium that like hasn't gotten monster trucks in a while or hasn't gotten them at all, like if they take a look at this show in Boise, Idaho, like the attendance that Hot Wheels got for this show and some of the major highlights from the event, that may open some eyes for stadiums to possibly bring in Hot Wheels into their events. But that's out of our hands. We can't predict what's going to go on in the future with that. But after seeing this event that Hot Wheels put on, they can definitely back that up or maybe do even more than that in the future. But this is just a start. There's no telling where Hot Wheels can go later on in the future.
You'll have to agree there. And one more thing to close off this week is, of course, the return of Snakebite. We don't get to see this truck a whole lot. We do know it's a lore in history. It's been a while since competed, and they brought it out for just this one night only. Do you guys wish to see Snakebite come back, especially celebrating its 35th anniversary this year?
Definitely. This is a key component truck in monster truck history. I believe it is the first 3D body monster truck to ever debut whenever it did back in the 90s. So it is an important part in monster truck history, and why not run it for more events? I mean, it's its 35th anniversary.
Yeah, it's one of those things where uh, Hot Wheels having Bigfoot, that's one of their big points that gives a lot of attention. That's a super well known truck, and that brings a lot more people to Hot Wheels. Well, if they use Snakebite, it could kind of do the same thing. It could just amplify that effect. So I think it would just be a big plus. And on top of that, I mean, with the one event Snakebite did just do, um, I can't recall the name of who was driving, but he was insanely fast, like passing other trucks during the race. So especially with such high performance, I think it could really be a good thing to, uh, I guess, bring Hot Wheels into more of the focus, beyond just having Bigfoot and Bone Shaker for the kids.
Yeah, and I actually, you know what, I agree with this too. If they're gonna do the whole character gimmick with Five Alarm, uh, Skelosaurus, all the other ones, right? Snakebite would really be a fine addition to the whole entire fleet, especially for Bigfoot, since of course, it's Bigfoot in another Bigfoot chassis, running some other name. I really think Snakebite would be the perfect addition to all of this. And even then, they are making their toys right now. Um, and I don't know what Team Bigfoot is holding him back from using Snakebite, but like, come on, man, it's like the perfect addition to for the Hot Wheels fleet. It would bring out more of the original Bigfoot fans out for the show. Even they wouldn't have to care about the show format itself. It's like it's Snakebite they would want to see and Bigfoot together once again, which the Boise fans got to see probably for their first time. But Snakebite really does need to come back, um, competition wise. Even talk about the open house. I think they might have it out there, just because it's a Bigfoot. But with the whole character stuff, Snakebite really is the perfect thing to have out there, especially if you want a villain truck against everyone else. There's your truck. There's your identity right there. Victory Viper being the perfect guy for it. But other than that, that was the 23 week 23 shows we had this past weekend starting out. And so now to close off this episode, as it is running late, especially for Naf, it is like 12 a.m. for the poor guy. Week 24, we're gonna go into the shows we have this upcoming weekend. Starting off with Hot Wheels, we just talked about Hot Wheels. Starting off with Hot Wheels with their gimmick, Glowing Fire, in Lima, Peru. Not Lima, Ohio, Lima, Peru. 5 Alarm with TBA, Bigfoot, Rebecca Chanel, Bone Shaker, Cody Smith, Double Derby. See, there you go. We have the other names being brought up for international shows, but not Boise. But, of course, if this is just a one body, okay, then I get that. But DBA with the Demo Derby, Gangster, Rex Steffens, Mega Rex, Kristen Migas, Race Ace, TBA, Rhinomites, Darren Schnell, Skelesaurus, Nick Migas, and Tiger Shark, Chris Walker. Wahoo Monster Truck Tour, this is a name. In Belcourt, in Belcourt, North Dakota. Five truck slots. No names here yet, but we'll see. Find out this next upcoming week. Fernley, Nevada, for the Monster X Tour with Barefoot Paul Craighead, Boss Gator Brian Leach, Geronimo reincarnated with a TBA slot, as well as Hammer Down. Sorry. Rampage, Josh Garrity and Werewolf, Sandler Hernandez. Winston-Salem, North Carolina for the Mayhem Monster Truck Tour. Of course, another 5-slot T-Bays for this show. We'll see what they get. Roswell, New Mexico for the Monster Trucks Maniac. Crazy Heifer, Cody Dickies. Fire Hazard, Chris Davis. Ghost Rider, Johnny Davenport, as well as Girl Power. King Crunch, Dylan Finley, and Nitro Hornet with the TBA. Monster Truck Roundup in Stoneboro, Pennsylvania. Backdraft, Justin Perkins, Bad News Charles Fast, Brandon DeRoe. Be Aware, Jessica Millard. Metal Monster, Shane Grunseth. Mighty Girl Camouflage and Brood. And Shockwave, Bale Brockman Jr. Salem, Indiana. Awesome Kong, this is Monster Truck Bash, by the way. Awesome Kong, David Reif. Godzilla, Ryan Holman. And Rescue Racer, Josh Holman, TBA. 4th Truck, TBA. This one is new to me. Monster Truck Wars in Chesaning, Michigan, with Locomotive, Outlaw, Shark Attack, and T-Rex, all with TBAs. Port Barre, Ontario, Monster Madness. Helion, Rich Bernier, Loudon, Dirty, Perry Como, Rat Nasty, Ryan Como, Sabotage, Crystal Carey. Full Throttle, Monster Trucks in New Berlin, Illinois. Bigfoot, Roger Gager, Blockhead, Jerry Smith. Dirt Crew with Tommy Verlone. Monkey Business, Thomas Borders, and Ray Bestos, Jasmine Borders. Elkhorn, Wisconsin, 2X Monster Trucks Live with Jekyll and Hyde, Corey Kindle. Rowan Rex, Mike, The Nuge, Nugent, and Sharkbite with Dan, the man, Doggerin.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a TBA slot here as well, so we'll see who that guest is in that show. All-Star Monster Truck Tour in Rochester, New Hampshire. I believe Dorsey is going to this show, if I'm not wrong. We'll have to ask him later. Crush Station, Greg Wickenbach, Kraken, Nick Pagarillo, Lumberjack, Zach Wickenbach, Misfire, Brooke Pagarillo, and Tovosaurus Rex, Tyler Morcom. Monster Spectacular is having shows one in Moncton, New Brunswick, and St. John, New Brunswick, both with the same lineup. So, of course, that'll be Black Stallion, Mike Waters, Higher Education, Chris De Hoyos, Overkill Evolution, Pat Paquette, Superfoot, East Nuttall, and Extreme Jim Pigeon. Monsters of Destruction in Merced, California, with Eric Swanson's Obsessed, Eric Swanson, Pretty Obsessed, Misha Swanson, Rockwell Red, Alex Barton, Terminator, Tyler Rome, and Velociraptor, Carson Williams. Coos Bay, Oregon, Malicious Monster Show. Jesus, there's a lot of shows this weekend. Coos Bay, Oregon, Elbows Up, Joe Briggs, Identity Theft, Miles Parker, Mixed Up, Gavin Sell, Rockstar, Bill Payne, and Spitfire, Nick Jones. Renegade Monster Trucks in Quarryville, Pennsylvania, Blockhead, Jared Smith, Third crew, Tim Mazentis, aka Mullet. Jurassic Attack with Preston Collins, Shredder, CJ2 back. Velociraptor, Preston Perez, and Virginia Giants, Cliff Vowell. MAP Motorsports continuing their run in Springfield, Missouri. Bad Decision, Alec White. Crusheroo is back with Devin Jones. Elder Abuse, Mike Sofa. Overboard, Jamie Garner. Tailgater, Tim Jones. Twisted Addiction, Trip Jones. And Wildside, Zach Garner. Monster Truck Throwdown. We're almost there, guys. Escanaba, Michigan, with Kylie Kent's Frostbites, the Haymaker, Chucky Pocken, Rat Attack, Jacob Ladwig, Terminal Velocity, John Zimmer Jr., and Uproar with John Zimmer Sr. Salinas, California. Of course, last year they had their first show there in the famous Salinas Sports Complex, having their next show for the second time. There is Throwdown. So this lineup includes Blockhead Darren Basil, Dirt Crew David Alford, Dragon Slayer Caden Morris, Farmageddon Craig Christensen, Jurassic Attack Tim Hall Jr., Kamikaze Travis Hall, Shell Shock Dalton Widener, and Vendetta with Fat Mike Christensen. I know one guy will have a fun time seeing Fat Mike once again. Don't you agree, Jack?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, we'll see.
Hey, while we're at it, don't forget to vote Mike and Vendetta for fan favorite. Just while we're at it.
Yeah, whenever you see those AI generated posts, don't dismiss it. Vote for Fat Mike.
Hold on, I just got a. Oh, it's just Max. Anyway, yeah, vote for Fat Mike and the Big Vendetta for fan vote of the year. Of course, he is for the fans. A man of the fans. Monsters of Metal in Delmar, Delaware. Of course, this is the show being hosted by the Metal Shop. This lineup is big. Air Mail Jordan Fisher, Avenger Jim Kohler, Bounty Hunter Jimmy Crean, Illuminator with Joe Foley. That's right. He is not driving Axe or Avenger this upcoming weekend. He is driving Illuminator. A lot of talk people were concerned about he's going to be completely disassembling the whole entire truck by the end of the night. If the Snyders have enough trust in Joe, then they will have him run and respect the chassis as it is, with of course Illuminator, Mayhem Chris Kohler, Scarlet Bandit Don Korean Shaker Ryan Disharoon, Toxic Corey Snyder, and War Wizard RJ Turner. That is a great lineup. What do you guys think on this?
Absolute peak cinema, combining some of the Monster Jam independents and some teams that run their own tours, like Jimmy Creighton running with the Monster Metal for a bit, and of course, the Metal Shop's own Shaker and Airmail. Just a very peak lineup.
We're finally at that time of the year where the conversation becomes 10 out of 10 independent lineups, and that's probably going to persist for the next 2 months, which is really exciting.
Yeah, absolute. I think this is also the show where the mud trucks are going to be running as well. King Sling will also be there, as well as Extreme King Sling. As for Dennis Anderson, I absolutely doubt. But talk about King Sling. We're starting to see the third generation of Andersons, as Adam's oldest son, Wade, is starting to run the mud truck. That, of course, the purple King Sling. And Fat Mike is absolutely starting to have a nightmare of that, because he did tell Dennis to cut it off because he doesn't want any more Andersons running around. Should have told the other boys and girl to not have any more Andersons, because now he's got to face them soon. But yeah, Wade is now starting off the third generation of Andersons in the motorsport. We'll see probably in the next 10 years when he ends up in a digger. But Delmar looks to be like a fun time. I don't know. I think this is one Dorsey might go. I don't know. We have to ask him what shows he's going to this weekend. I'm pretty sure it's this weekend he's going to. Next up is Monster Jam having their international series, and this is fun. This is going to be fun to announce. Gelsenkirchen, Deutschland.
Gelsenkirchen, Deutschland.
Anyway, in the Veltins Arena, Of course, for the international series, this is, of course, with Earthshaker Brandon Arthur, El Trolico Peter Nyman, Gravedigger Charlie Pocken, Megalodon Mike Waters Jr., Dalmatian with Colt Stevens once again. Thunderverse is right there. Sparkle Smash Chelsea Van Cleef, Thunderverse Geneva Keller, and Zombie Joe Dennis. One show this upcoming weekend, guys. You know the drill. So, who is your top three here? Start off with now.
Okay. So my top three is the international tour representative for the World Finals, Brandon Arthur and the Earthshaker. Also got to go with Charlie Pocken and Gravedigger and Colt Stevens with Monster Mutt Dalmatian.
Well, my number one obviously has to be the best to do it out of this whole lineup, Joe Dennis. Number two, I'm gonna have to go with, like mentioned, going to the World Finals, Brandon Arthur. And number three is gonna have to be the veteran Charlie.
So my pick here, I'm gonna go with number one. Whoops. Uh, Brandon Arthur, Earthshaker, number two. Charlie Pocken, and three. Mike Waters Jr. Literally the staples of the international series. But other than that, that is the shows we have this upcoming weekend. A lot of them. Jeez. Literally a lot of them. And I told Max, you got Fat Mike this weekend. Anyway, that is everything we had to go through, right?
Should be.
Yes, sir. There's going to be a lot of shows this coming week. A lot to look out for.
Yeah, and we're almost a few weeks away from the Monster Jam World Finals, where we'll be seeing new champions being crowned. The same format, but just just newly laid out across the weekend. But I think that'll be a pretty exciting week to look forward to. We'll be back next weekend. I also enjoyed the new graphic. Spent the whole week on it, and I just came out very fire. But other than that, don't forget to listen to STSL Off the Track on Spotify and YouTube, as well as follow us on Instagram at STSL Off the Track, as well as the main account Steel Time Sports League on Instagram, and subscribe to them on YouTube. Their STSL Beam League is starting to come up here in a bit, as I just found out from Sharky Dude. Of course, if you're familiar with his content on Instagram or TikTok with the beam stuff, where he does crazy moves with Tech Deck, Megalodon, and all the other trucks. That's literally how I found out they're coming back real soon. Also, merch will be in the links down, providing links below. Other than that, for Jack, Nafajan, and myself, I'm Lane Flores. We will see you guys next week for some more Monster Trucks. See ya.
Gate Bursting!